Hello, Falcons fans! Today, we're breaking down some unfortunate injury updates ahead of our pivotal Week 8 matchup against the Buccaneers, and we've got some other things to cover. This Sunday's game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is a huge one. With both teams battling for the NFC South lead, the stakes couldn't be higher. But as we prepare for the big matchup, the Falcons are going to be missing some key players. Before we dive into the latest team news, be sure to like the video and subscribe to stay up to date on all the biggest stories. Unfortunately, linebacker Troy Anderson is out for the fourth consecutive game, and Pro Bowl safety Justin Simmons is listed as doubtful. It's a tough blow for the defense in a game that could have major playoff implications. Let's start with Troy Anderson. He's been out since that incredible performance against the Saints in Week 4, where he earned NFC Defensive Player of the Week honors. Anderson's absence has been felt, especially since the defense has struggled to keep up the pace in recent games. While he's been making steady progress without setbacks, the Falcons will have to continue without him this week. Now, here's the surprise. Justin Simmons is questionable with a hamstring injury. He made progress last week, but it appears the Falcons will be more cautious this time around. If Simmons can't play, Richie Grant will step in. Grant's experience helps soften the blow, but Simmons has been a game-changer all season. Losing him, especially in a game with so much on the line, is tough. Now, while it's frustrating to have these defensive setbacks, it's nothing compared to the Buccaneers' injury list. Tampa Bay will be without two of its key players, Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Evans, who has been nursing a hamstring issue, won't return until after the Bucs bye week. Then we have Godwin, who suffered a season-ending injury in last week's game. These two are the core of Tampa's passing attack, so the Falcons' defense could use some relief here. As for the rest of the injury report, there is some good news. Offensive linemen Matt Bergeron and Ryan Neuzil, who missed time against Seattle, are back to full participation. Bergeron will be ready to play, while Neuzil is listed as questionable. Having our offensive line strengthened is a huge plus, especially with Tampa's aggressive passing pressure. So what do you think, Falcons fans? Are you confident in our defense's ability to excel without Anderson and possibly Simmons, especially given Tampa's offensive losses? Now, let's talk about a player who could help transform our defense next season. So, here's the scoop. Sports Illustrated's latest mock draft has the Falcons selecting Texas A&M defensive end Nick Scourton with the 22nd overall pick. Now, I know what you're thinking. Didn't we focus on the defensive line in last year's draft? Yeah, but there's a reason Scourton's name keeps popping up in these predictions. He has the potential to be the pass-rushing force we've been missing. The Falcons have struggled to get pressure on the quarterback, and Scourton is known for his ability to get into the backfield and make those big plays. Standing at 6 feet 4 inches and weighing in at 285 pounds, Scourton's physicality is matched by his stats. At Purdue, he led the Big Ten with 10 sacks and 15 tackles for loss in 2023. This season, after transferring to Texas A&M, he's already recorded 4.5 sacks and 11 tackles for loss in just 7 games. Not only can he bring the heat in the pass rush, but he's also solid at stopping the run, something that could round out our defense nicely with his skill set and size. Scourton is the perfect fit to fill the edge presence that the Falcons line is missing. Imagine the possibilities with a player who can consistently disrupt the offensive backfield. In the draft, though, there's a catch. ESPN ranks Scourton as the number 18 overall prospect, so if we keep winning, he could be gone by the time we're on the clock. However, if the opportunity is there, Scourton could be a long-term solution to our pass-rushing woes. For comparison's sake, a few other names floated around in the mock after Scourton, including Arizona cornerback Tacario Davis and Kentucky defensive tackle Deone Walker. Both are solid players, but Scourton's skill set seems to align perfectly with our biggest needs. All right, Falcons fans, it's your turn. Would you be excited to see Nick Scourton in a Falcons uniform next season? Do you think he's the piece that can finally solve our pass rush woes, or would you rather see us target another position? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Taking a look at Kirk Cousins and his spot on the NFL QB Index, let's see how his ups and downs could impact the Falcons season. So here's the scoop. Kirk Cousins has dropped to number 15 on NFL.com's weekly QB Index, and for good reason. After a record-breaking performance in Week 5 and a strong showing in Week 6, Cousins had everyone excited. In those 2 weeks, he racked up 734 passing yards, 5 touchdowns, and just 1 turnover. But then came Week 7, where things changed dramatically. Against the Seahawks, Cousins got off to a decent start but struggled to maintain that momentum. According to NFL.com's Nick Shook, Cousins showed both the good and the bad sides of his game in a single game. Shook described how Cousins threw some excellent passes, involving guys like Kyle Pitts and Drake London. He even capped a solid third-quarter drive with a touchdown pass to London. But just when things looked promising, Cousins' play began to unravel. The turning point? Cousins was picked off by Boy Mafe, who forced a fumble that Seattle's defense turned into a touchdown. After that, it was a downward spiral. Cousins threw 2 interceptions on consecutive drives, and while the first pick wasn't entirely his fault, it slipped right through London's hands. The second was a poor throw intended for Pitts. That made it 3 turnovers in just 3 drives, a tough look for Cousins and a tough blow for the Falcons. Shook stressed that while Atlanta's offensive line needs to do a better job of protecting Cousins, it also needs to find ways to avoid those costly mistakes if the Falcons want to remain competitive in the NFC South race. It's one thing to be under pressure, but the Falcons need Cousins to be the calm, steady leader they signed him to be, especially in high-stakes moments. Perhaps the biggest missed opportunity, though, came before those turnovers even began. In the second quarter, with the Falcons trailing 3-0, Cousins left Ray McCloud wide open on a 3rd and 7. Had he connected, Atlanta would have been in the red zone and in good scoring position. Instead, Cousins fouled McCloud, and the Falcons ended up settling for a long field goal attempt. Young-Ho Koo missed the kick, and the Seahawks took advantage by scoring on the next drive, putting Atlanta down 10-0. That miss changed the entire momentum of the game, putting the Falcons in recovery mode for the rest of the afternoon. So what's next? Cousins has a chance to bounce back in Week 8 against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Falcons fans will recall that Cousins had a monster game against the Bucs on October 3rd, throwing for a franchise record 509 yards and 4 touchdowns. If he can find that same magic again, it could be just what the Falcons need to stay on top of the NFC South. Now, we want to hear from you, Falcons fans. Do you think Cousins has what it takes to lead us through the ups and downs, or do you think these inconsistencies will be a problem going forward? Leave your thoughts in the comments below and let's get the conversation started. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Go Falcons!